Sometimes when I go after finding a solution for a problem, it takes a while. It takes testing, it takes trying a number of different products, some trial and error with technique or methods of doing something. But the thing I've been focusing on recently is trying to get these windows to move up and down more easily. Now, windows that go up real hard and down real hard are the #1 cause of window regulator failure. So if you're going to be going after problems with window regulators, which these old cars do indeed have, you need to figure out why the glass is moving so stiffly inside these channels. Now I've been working on this door. It's got a hand crank window, but look, now it's going up a lot easier. Before I hit it like strain on the knob up and down, but it still isn't as good as I'd like to. When I get up towards the top here, it's real smooth. But you've got a number of different issues going on, and during this whole process, I came up with a new product. Now, I'm sure this product exists out there somewhere, but after trying 3 or 4 different products, it became obvious, to me at least, that probably silicone was the best solution for these felt channels here. Now, some people have said to use graphite, some people have said to use beeswax, but you got to think about how long is it going to last in a heavy rain environment with moisture and wetness in these windows going up and down. And silicone's probably going to hang around a lot longer. Now, when you go with silicone, you've got a couple options. You've got silicone spray, which I find has a propellant in it that tends to evaporate off. Now, in some cases, that's okay if you don't want it to hang around. But you shoot silicone spray in here, and it's probably going to only last for a couple months. So out comes the silicone grease. Oh, wow. You try to move silicone grease down in here, and it can create a mess that stays around for months as you roll up these windows and roll down these windows and happen to bump into them with your clothing. So I decided what I really needed was a silicone oil. Let me show you my new silicone oil. So look at that. There's my special brew silicone oil. I've made it a little bit thicker today because I'm going to be reaching up inside by braille to get this in those window channels. Okay, let's see how this works. Okay, I've got the window all the way up. I'm going to reach up in here, feel the channel, and then I'll slide that acid brush into the channel and run it up as high as I can and then all the way down. Okay, let's do it again. You know, I tried this last week with silicone grease, and what a mess. So the oil holds onto the brush and goes in and works right into that channel a lot more easily than grease does. Okay. Now, let's go this way. All the way up. You can do it. You just have to feel it. All the way up to the top. This is one time you definitely want to wear gloves, and you definitely want some shop towels handy, even a shop towel rather than a paper towel, to get the silicone off your fingers. All right, let's see how this works now. Look at that. All the way down, all the way up, without straining anymore. As a side benefit, you can also use the silicone oil on these rubber door seals. You know, the problem with silicone spray is you get it on your paint. If you ever have to paint anything, it's not going to be very good. But the nice thing about this silicone oil is I can control where I put it. I mean, if I wanted to, I could even keep it off the glass like that. And when you put this on the rubber, just leave it. Let it soak in. You can come back in maybe an hour and wipe it down once the excess kind of soaks into the rubber you're trying to protect. But look how you can put this on these door seals. You can see I'd put this on a little bit earlier. And it softens up the rubber, eliminates door squeaks, and prolongs the life of the seal. So there you have it. Another miracle product from Mercedessource. So you see, that's pretty cool. And you can mix it so you get just the right viscosity you want. And I want it a little bit heavier than syrup. So now that's looking pretty good. I'm not sure whether that's going to be the ultimate solution, okay? But there's one thing I need to do, because as I've been working on this door, listen to this. You've already heard this. Every time I open this door, it's like, oh man, I'm going to break something here. So I want to change the check strap. And while I change this check strap, I want to show you something that you should be aware of. Now I've got 2 or 3 other videos on door checks, so it's not a big deal. You all know how to probably change these if you've messed around with old Mercedes. But I want to show you a little bit about what causes those door check straps to fail, and then I'm going to show you what you should do with the new one when you put it in to make sure it lasts a long time. All right, there it is. You see why they fail? Once again, lack of lubrication. If I put my finger in there, it's just like tar in here. And it's all dried up and very sticky. You can see it start to rust there. And eventually these fail, and it's because water goes by these window scrapers up above and drips down on these check straps and eventually dries out and hardens the grease. And when the grease fails, these fail right here. So the new one's made an improvement. This looks like the original check strap in this car from 1980. So let me show you the improvement, and let me show you the modification you need to make even to the improvement to make sure they really last when you reinstall these in your bins. Well, it's obvious. The first thing you notice on these aftermarket replacements is they put a plastic cover over the check strap mechanism. Now, somebody was pretty smart because they figured this out. You got this rainwater coming down here. It's going to hit the plastic and run off and not get down in these spring-loaded balls. And if you look, there's a real light coat of grease. I mean, it's very light. You probably know from the previous old check strap, they were using petroleum-based grease back in those days, and that tends to get hardened with age. So I believe that you need to add a heavy dose of synthetic grease. This is one of the greases I carry in my lube kit. And I get an acid brush, and I liberally coat the inside of the check strap, both sides, with synthetic grease. And this is the grease that's going to hold up best to moisture, and it's going to hold up best over a long period of time. So anytime you install new check straps, be sure and add a liberal, and I mean very liberal amount of synthetic grease. And then you can put the cover back on and install it back in the door, and you probably won't have to mess with this for at least another 10 or 15 years. Now I'll go ahead and put this in, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how nicely it works. Anytime I'm working inside a door, you know, I pull out my trusty lubrication kit, and if you're not aware of this, I do carry this on my website, but I'm going to take this synthetic grease and I'm going to lubricate this track liberally. And then as long as I know my mechanism is okay, I'll probably not remove it, but I'm going to put some of this synthetic grease on my fingertips, and I'm going to reach up in here and I'm going to coat the teeth. I'm just going to take a couple globs up in here and I'll go up and feel where those teeth are on the regulator, and then we're going to coat that real well, okay? And then if you have hand crank windows, you want to lubricate the shaft, because this shaft will get rusty. And I use my curved tip syringe in the thick synthetic, and I'm going to let that wick right down in there like that. See that? We'll get that in there, and I'll put some right up in here. Okay, let's move the handle here. And I'll go ahead and wick a little bit more in there as I'm turning it. All right, there we go. Now you can see how nice that's moving up and down compared to when I started working on this. And of course, while I'm at it, I'm going to check for rust in the drain holes here. That's the side window scraper. That's real clean. And then I'm going to go ahead and lubricate any of these mechanisms, including the door latch mechanism. Let's talk about this door latch mechanism. You know, it may get lubricated out here once in a while, but it never gets lubricated in here, and this gets a lot of moisture and eventually it'll seize up. This is why you can't get the door open, because something will be going on in here. Now in the past I've recommended using some sort of quality spray lubricant, but I found over time, once again, that kind of goes away. And so I'm back to one of my favorite products, which of course is that which is the thick fully synthetic oil that I carry in my lube kit. It's a very high quality oil with some really good anti-friction and anti-corrosive additives. And what you can do is take the curved tip syringe, you may have to trim a little bit off, and then put a piece of plastic tubing on it. This is typical of vacuum lines in most Mercedes-Benzes. Now I'm going to use this tube to reach up in there and lubricate any moving parts I can see, and there's a lot of them. And I don't care if this drips down and gets on everything, because a residual amount of this thick synthetic oil will stay in place. But you won't be able to do this without a good light to get down in behind here and lubricate the entire mechanism, the pivot points, the latch, and you can see the springs. Just lubricate it all, and then come out on this side and let it soak down in here. Now you can use a bigger piece of plastic. I've got this one here if you want. This is like 1/4-inch plastic you get for refrigerator ice cube makers. You can shove this on, and that's going to give you a lot more volume of oil, but it will work. You can see how you may have to back off on the plunger pressure a little bit. But those are your two options that you can put on these curved tip syringes to reach into hard places. And once again, I recommend this type of synthetic oil as your best lubricant. While I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and lubricate all these other points. Any points that rub, you've got the rods that move for the door latch, you've got the rod and the pivot points for the vacuum actuator for your door locks. And this is the great thing about synthetics, is you can put it on metal and plastic and it won't deteriorate the plastic like petroleum-based oils will. So I'll just put a little bit here and a little bit here. You know, these old door pulls wear out too, so we'll get in here and lubricate this. And we'll lubricate this. Okay, let's get the top of the pivot point. Look at how much nicer that's moving now. You can tell already. And I can just take a rag and come in here and wipe off some of this excess. Just leave a light film on there. And even getting a little synthetic lube on this foam isn't going to really deter it like petroleum-based oil or sprayed lubricants would. All right, there you have it. Now, let me show you how this works from afar. I didn't intend to spend this much time on the door today, but once I got into it, I wanted to make it right. Now, check this out. Look at this. And just lightly pull on the handle. And that goes to the first stop, goes to the second stop. You can see that earlier with that damaged check strap, it wasn't even opening all the way. And check out the window. Just easily crank the window handle down and crank it up. And I pull on the door pull, and once again, this is how a Mercedes door should close.